Episode 18, The Binding. The air in the old church was suffocating, thick with a sinister energy that made every breath feel like inhaling smoke. Eli and Evelyn stood in the shadow of the heart, its dark energy pulsing ominously in time with the low, rhythmic chant of the silent circle. The leader stood at the altar, hands raised in reverence toward the heart, his eyes glowing with a dangerous intensity. Clutching Clara's ancient tome tightly, Evelyn looked at Eli, their silent determination shared in a brief nod. They were about to face forces beyond their understanding, and there was no turning back. Evelyn opened the book to the ritual page, the binding incantation written in an ancient language that felt heavy in her mouth as she whispered it to herself, trying to memorize each line. "We have one chance," Eli murmured, his eyes flicking warily toward the silent circle. "If we disrupt the ritual, we can weaken the heart long enough to complete the binding." But before they could make a move, the leader of the silent circle spotted them. His chanting faltered, and he sneered as he lowered his hands. "You fools," he hissed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You think you can stop this? The heart has chosen us. We will bring its power to the world, and nothing you do will change that." The other members of the circle turned to face Eli and Evelyn, their hooded faces expressionless, but their stance menacing. Eli and Evelyn exchanged a tense glance, realizing they'd have to get past the circle to reach the heart. Evelyn raised her voice, her words carrying through the heavy air. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. This thing inside the heart, it's not something you can control. It will destroy you and everyone in Black Hollow." The leader laughed, a harsh, chilling sound. "What you call destruction, we call salvation. The heart will cleanse this town of its rot. And once it's done here, it will spread its power far beyond Black Hollow." The circle began to chant again, the words unfamiliar yet laced with dark, seductive energy that made the walls seem to pulse. The heart responded, its red glow intensifying, casting an eerie light that flickered across the ancient stone walls. Eli gripped Evelyn's arm. "We need to break their concentration," he whispered. "If we can get even a few seconds, we might be able to start the binding." Evelyn nodded, steeling herself. "I'll draw their attention," she said, determination blazing in her eyes. "You get close to the heart and start the ritual." Before Eli could argue, Evelyn stepped forward, raising her voice in defiance. "You think you can control this power? You're nothing but pawns," she shouted, echoing through the chamber. "The heart will consume you." Her words seemed to have an effect. The circle's chanting faltered, and several of its members turned to face her, anger flickering in their eyes. The leader snarled, raising his hand to silence her, but in that momentary distraction, Eli darted forward, moving toward the heart. The ancient tome trembled in his hands as he approached the altar, the incantation filling his mind. He could feel the heart's energy pressing against him, a dark and insidious force that seemed to reach into his soul, trying to pull him closer. He could barely hear Evelyn's voice over the thunderous beating of his heart, but he forced himself to focus on the words of the ritual, reciting them under his breath. As he spoke, the heart's glow faltered, the red light flickering like a candle caught in the wind. The circle members seemed to sense the change, their chanting growing louder, more frantic. But Evelyn's voice rose above them all, her taunts and defiant words keeping their attention focused on her. Eli's voice grew stronger as he spoke the incantation, each word resonating with a strange power that seemed to push back against the heart's influence. The book glowed faintly in his hands, its pages vibrating with the ancient magic held within. As he neared the final line of the incantation, the heart's pulsing slowed, its light dimming further. But before he could complete the ritual, the leader of the silent circle realized what was happening. He raised his hand, and a wave of dark energy shot out toward Eli, striking him with a force that sent him sprawling to the ground. The tome fell from his grasp, sliding across the floor as he gasped for breath, pain radiating through his body. "No!" Evelyn screamed, running to his side. She knelt beside him, her eyes filled with worry. "Eli, are you okay?" He grimaced, forcing himself to his feet. I'm fine. We're so close. We can't stop now." The leader sneered, stepping toward them with a glint of triumph in his eyes. You can't win, he said, his voice filled with dark satisfaction. The heart has already chosen its vessel, and it will consume everything in its path. But as he spoke, a rumbling sound filled the chamber, the ground shaking beneath their feet. The heart began to pulse erratically, its glow intensifying until the entire room was bathed in blood-red light. The circle members faltered, their chants dissolving into fearful whispers as they realized something was wrong. Eli and Evelyn exchanged a glance, a spark of hope igniting between them. The heart was unstable, it was responding to the incomplete ritual, the seal weakened but not broken. They still had a chance. Evelyn grabbed the tome from the ground, opening it to the incantation page. Eli, we have to finish this together, she said, her voice steady and resolute. He nodded, standing beside her as they began to recite the incantation in unison. Their voices echoed through the chamber, filled with a newfound strength that seemed to resonate with the very stones around them. As they spoke, the heart's pulsing grew weaker, its light flickering as though struggling to maintain its hold on the physical world. The circle's leader screamed in rage, his eyes wild with fury. You fools! You're meddling with forces beyond your understanding. Ignoring him, Eli and Evelyn continued the incantation, their voices rising with each line. The heart's glow faded further, its pulsing slowing to a faint, erratic beat. The ground beneath them shook violently, but they held their ground, their voices unwavering. Finally, they reached the last line of the ritual. As the words left their lips, a powerful surge of energy erupted from the heart, filling the room with a blinding light. The force of it knocked everyone to the ground, and for a moment, there was only silence. When the light faded, Eli and Evelyn slowly opened their eyes. The heart lay on the altar, dark and lifeless, its energy completely drained. The circle members lay scattered across the floor, their eyes wide with shock and disbelief. The leader struggled to his feet, staring at the heart in horror as he realized that its power was gone. No, no, he cried, his voice breaking. This can't be. Eli and Evelyn exchanged a look of relief and exhaustion. They had done it, they had sealed the heart, containing the ancient evil within once again. But as they looked around the ruined chamber, they knew that the darkness they had fought was still lurking, waiting for another chance to break free. The leader of the silent circle glared at them, his face twisted with rage. You think you've won? He spat. This isn't over. The heart's power is eternal, and it will return. You can't stop it. Eli met his gaze, his expression resolute. Maybe. But as long as we're here, we'll keep fighting it. With one final glare, the leader turned and fled, disappearing into the shadows. The other members of the circle followed, their footsteps echoing through the silent church as they retreated into the night. Eli and Evelyn stood alone in the empty chamber, the dark energy that had once filled it, now replaced by a heavy silence. They knew that Black Hollow would never be free of the heart's influence, but for now, they had bought the town a reprieve, a chance to heal from the darkness that had haunted it for so long. As they left the church, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a soft glow over Black Hollow. The town felt lighter, as though a weight had been lifted, and for the first time in years, there was a sense of peace in the air. But as they walked away from the church, Eli and Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that the heart's influence still lingered, waiting in the shadows. They had won a battle, but the war against the ancient darkness was far from over. End of episode 18.